Hi friends, hope you're awesome. Oh, my screen was a little dirty. So hello, welcome to Becoming Professionally Famous Online Season 3 episode number 8, because last week we didn't do it. So we are a week behind, which is totally fine because you've got me now. So before we kick in to what we're talking about today, it's all around the launch process and the launch timeline. I'd love to hear, like, when you guys are joining or if you're watching the recording, what's been really awesome for you over the last week. I think it's really something that gets missed a lot is this conversation around what you're celebrating, what's working really, really well. So a little bit about my last few days. So my youngest human turned 10, which is just completely ridiculous. My second daughter is going on to a high school orientation day today, and my oldest daughter is at her boyfriend's house today, whilst it's exam week. So we've had some really big things happen in the last few days, and it's kind of interesting. As much as one can prepare for anything, the reality of when it kicks in can be a whole different kind of ball game. So, you know, I'm celebrating all of that. I'm celebrating that we are still sane somewhat. And good morning, Leanne. And that things are ticking along and going as well as can be expected. So that is really awesome. So what I was really looking forward to sharing with you last week is what I'm going to share with you today. So the launch process and the launch timeline. It's a little bit like getting your kids prepped for going to school, going to high school, or getting older, right? We've got to have plans in place. We've got to know what's coming, how it's going, what the goals are, what we need to do along the way. And it's not something that we usually just kind of rip off the Band-Aid and get going straight away. Good morning, Margaret. So with the launch process, I guess so many people, and I've had this conversation multiple times over the last, particularly over the last 6 months, whereby people have gone and said, oh, I'm going to go and put this course out, and then they don't make any sales. Good morning, Amy. Where they might go and think of a new offer or a new coaching program or a new package or a new service or something that they've added, like it might be a bolt-on thing to something that they're already doing. And when it doesn't work straight away or doesn't work as well as what they might like it to work straight away in terms of actually making sales, it can become a little bit disappointing and a little bit disheartening. So what I wanted to share with you is the way that I really need you guys to be thinking about launches. So this is regardless of whether you're doing an intake style launch, whereby you might have a program that you want to roll out 4 times a year or 3 times a year or once a year. It might be where you're constantly doing marketing and wanting to get people enrolled at like an evergreen basis type thing. So you're always enrolling people. Doesn't really matter which way you do this, but each way is going to require some different tweaks, okay, in order for you to make sales. Because let's face it, the only reason that you are launching anything is to get clients. It's to make money. It's to generate revenue. Yes, I know that all of you are doing things for the good of the world, to help other people. I know that, but you're also in business. Now, in order for you to have a successful business, you need to be profitable, you need to be making money, okay? Otherwise, it's a hobby or a charity, and even charities don't run on the smell of an oily rag. They require money, which means fundraising, which means that you're selling something in order to get money. Okay, so let's just leave that there. So the big thing that we need to be thinking about is the launch process timeline to start with. Now, before you go and launch something new out to market, you probably need a good, I reckon, 8 to 12 weeks of things that happen in the lead up to that. Most people are like, oh, I've gone and done some marketing for a week and nobody bought, and oh, I'm a failure and my course is shit and I need to change it and I need to change the pricing, this, that, and the other. No, that is not the case. Most of the time, that is not the case. We've just got to be able to build up some momentum and some visibility around you and what you're doing and how you're going to help the audience. So the thing that I want you to be aware of, first of all, is if you are, you might have put out a launch, and let's say that you don't want to get on the phone and talk to people. Most people don't want to get on the phone and sell and talk to people. Okay, for whatever reason that might be. Me, I love the shit out of it. I want to talk to all of the people. I love talking. So if you're putting something out that is driving people to a sales page where you're asking for money, that page is going to convert somewhere between 0.1% and 1%. Now, what that means is that if you're converting it at 1%, you need 100 people actually reading that page and looking at that page in order for them to buy. If it converts at 0.1, then you need 1,000 eyeballs reading and looking at your stuff. Okay, so this is if we're going straight to sale. Now, this doesn't matter if you're selling something for $7, $19, $97, $197, $497, $1,100, $2,500. Doesn't matter the price point. That's what you're looking at. So the conversions are really, really low. So we've got to make sure that those 100 people that are going to look at that page, or the 1,000 people that are going to look at that page, are really kind of captivated by what's going on in there. Now, usually the best way to do that is we've got to be able to create an audience. Okay, we've got to create an audience who is hungry, an audience who is interested, an audience who is probably going to be the kind of audience who is going to read it and then convert. So how do we do that? Well, we don't want to just put something in front of them that says, hey, this is really awesome, you should totally go and buy this, right? So before that, what we need to have a look at doing is, what are we going to do in order to build a relationship with them? Now, if you guys have been hanging around for any length of time, if you've been listening to anything that I've been saying, then you know that I'm all about building relationships and adding value and building that connection with people. So how do we do that? Well, if we know, and I'm imagining this as in like a timeline, okay? So over on my right hand, I've got our end goal, which is where people are going to look at the sales page and hopefully buy. Well, not hopefully, they will buy if we get the volume of people. So we need to build the audience before that. So this is the full timeline. This section in here is where we need to be adding value and building relationships. Now, some of the best ways that we can do this is by putting out something for free in exchange for somebody's name and email address, and having a very specific conversation with them about what their problems are, okay, and how you can help them. So one of the best ways to look at doing that is by offering something for free in exchange for their name and email address, and you address what's called the problem solution path. Morning, Helen. Thanks for joining us. Missed you. The problem solution path. So what's the first problem that you're going to address in that email series, and how are you going to solve it? And then in the next email, you need to address another problem and solve it. Then the next email, another problem and solve it. And then the next email, another problem, which leads them into the sales page, which is the solution for that. Okay, so problem, solution, problem, solution, problem, solution, problem. Buy my stuff. So what happens is that through that process, that might take a week, it might take 3 weeks, it might take however long it takes. We've got to really connect with them through here. Good morning, Casey. We've got to connect with them through here so that they can even make the decision whether they feel like they know you, whether they feel like there's any value that you can give them through that process. Because otherwise, if they get over to this page over here, this sales page where you're asking for money, they're not going to buy. right? They need to feel like they can get to know you, like they like you. People buy from people they like, right? I will go into specific stores in my hometown here, and because I know that the store owner or the shopkeeper or the person who serves me actually knows me. I feel like they're quite likable, and I really trust their judgment with the things that they might say. Oh, hey, like, what about this? Sometimes I don't, because I don't do all of the fashion things necessarily. So, you know, I know that I can trust her, and I like her, and I feel like I know her a little bit in that professional sense, right? So think about that for a moment. How are you addressing the problem solution path in your marketing, in everything like that? So this is where we can almost create a whole group of people who are going to be interested in this end game that you're going to offer them. So what has to happen before that? So usually what happens is people get all like scattered gun, like at the first end of the process. They're like, oh, everybody needs this thing, everybody needs that, everybody needs this. And that becomes very generalist. Now, if we think about doctors and surgeons, we've got our GPs that we go for the general stuff. But if you're going to have your nose operated on, and you're used to being on camera, or you know you've got to have photos, or you know you're going to have branding shots, you probably want a specialist plastic surgeon operating on your nose to make sure that it's going to come out in the best possible way for you, rather than having a general practitioner do it who doesn't do that all day, every day. I want someone who's doing this all day, every day. So we want to become specialists for your audience. So what happens here is that rather than being all scattergun talking to all of the people, we actually say, hey, if you're experiencing these kinds of problems, let's have a conversation outside of that area and I'll solve these problems for you, which is what we're looking at. We need them to opt in, right? So we need to collect a name and an email address. Now, this is whether you're marketing to your existing database. Even if you're marketing to your existing Facebook fans, even if you're marketing to an existing audience, we want them to opt in, because that's them expressing their interest in this particular thing that you're talking about. Now, why would you want to do that? Well, because it's going to be a very specific conversation you have over probably the next 3 to 4 weeks. Okay. It means that you're going to have a very specific conversation around the problems that they're facing about X, Y, Z. And then you're going to offer them something for sale off the back of that. So this whole process from getting, like, this is the launch process actually. When you launch, it's when we start getting people opting in, giving them those solutions, and then offering them that thing for sale. That might go for a period of, say, 6 weeks. For example, if you're going in rounds, that might be a 6-week period. So why do I say it might take 3 months? Well, we've got this whole thing that we need to think about, which is called pre-launch. So we've got if we've got your ads going out, you've got landing pages and things happening. Sometimes people don't want to just have that blah, 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 like they might not opt in straight away, right? They might not opt in or buy in their head to the solution that you're talking about. So it requires you to do a bit of groundwork first of all, before you start putting these offers out, before you start offering things for sale. So pre-launch can look like blogs. It can be other emails where you're kind of talking around what you're putting together, asking them to share with you what their problems are, or their challenges, or their roadblocks, or their speed bumps. Now, as we're going along, guys, if you've got questions about this stuff, please let me know. If you need clarification, please let me know. It'll be easy to do that while we're going through it, rather than trying to get my head around where you were at when we're talking through the conversation. So the other thing that we need to be considering and thinking about is what other collateral needs to be going out there, and how you're going to go about creating that. So I wanted to give you a bit of a working example of this. So as you guys know, I've been talking a lot over the last probably 6 weeks about Sales and Marketing Spy School. So it's a 3 or 4 day event that I'm putting on in October on the Gold Coast, where a bunch of business owners are going to learn how to create really awesome marketing, remarkable marketing that generates results without the smoke and mirrors bullshit that tends to surround online marketing. My name's Jez again. So that's what I've launched right now. Now, in the lead up to that launch, what I've been doing, I've been putting out a whole lot of blogs. I've been talking a lot on Facebook Lives. I've been putting out a whole bunch of posts. Before I did that, I started talking about the decisions that I've been making. I started talking about the stuff that I've been going through, particularly in the last couple of years, but over the last 8 years that I've been growing and building my business. So my pre-launch was very much around, this is what I've been working towards. These are the trials and tribulations that we've been through. These are the successes. These are the wins my clients are experiencing. You know, I'm so excited. And then I get into the place where it's like, all right, well, rather than saying, hey, are you interested in buying Spy School? I do that sometimes, but I know the conversions tend to be low. I've got webinars that I'm putting out. I've got audits that I've been doing. I've got blogs that I've been putting out. So I've been building up this audience of people who might decide that they like me, who might decide that they want to get to know me better, who might decide that they trust me, who might then decide, yep, you know what? I really like this girl. She is down the line. She's funny because, you know, she is. And like, these are the things that I really want to be able to learn, because I'm a little bit confused about all the mixed messages that are going on out there and yada, yada, yada. So my job is to make sure that I'm building that value, that I'm solving problems, that I'm helping you guys. And you'll decide whether or not you like me. You'll decide whether or not you trust me. You'll decide whether or not you know me enough by now or not. And you'll make the decision to take that next step, or you won't, and that's fine. My job is just to keep showing up, right? And then some of you will enroll in Spy School, some of you already have, and some of you won't, and that's completely fine. So that's the process that I've used for Spy School. It's actually the same process that I've used over and over again since 2012 to do more than $4.5 million in sales using only online marketing as the way of getting people in the door and having conversations with them. So sometimes I forget that because it's kind of just, oh yeah, like it's just, it's just what we do. It's just how it is. Like, I don't really think too much about it. But really, the way that I've been doing this is not through I don't only launch once a year. And I don't only launch once every 90 days, because to me, that creates a whole lot of, well, what if this next round of marketing doesn't work? It creates for me a little bit of anxiety around, well, I've got this pool of money and now it needs to last me for a year. I don't want to feel like that. So the way that I have done this all the time, every time since 2012, and actually since the end of 2011, when things started to gain some traction, is if I've got a marketing campaign that's working, I keep it running. I do not turn it off. What I do is I have groups of people that start I usually run things every 8 weeks. So I've got an 8-week program, and then I might have a month off, and then I'll run another 8-week program, and then I might have a couple of weeks off, and then I run another 8-week program. So I usually get about 4 to 5 rounds of a program in every year. So the reason that I do that is I think for the stuff that I'm teaching, which is online marketing and funnels and getting yourself out there and how to build relationships online. That's what my whole thing is, and how to actually make freaking money from it. So how do you get results? How do you make sales? To me, it's something really awesome happens when a group of people who are all going through the same thing, who are all going through the same learning experience, who are all implementing in the same timeline, there's a really awesome synergy that happens with all of those people who go through that process. Now, there have been friendships formed through there's best friends, there's collaborations, there's, referral networks that have been built as a result of doing that. It's been really, really freaking cool, which was not my intention. My intention was to provide support and a place for people who are going through the same stuff to be able to connect with each other. So that does that. It also really helps me to have, and for them to have a really defined start and finish line so that they know what they're working towards. That's something that works really well for me. The other thing, so it's I think it's the 12th of June today. The thing that I like about this constantly talking to people, constantly enrolling someone, is that if I've got a program that's starting on the 1st of July, right? Then for me, I could enroll someone now and say, hey, we're going to start on the 1st of July, but you're going to have support between now and then we've got our 8-week program, right? If somebody is then enrolling into August, it's the same thing, right? We've got time to be able to build up the momentum for them without them just going straight in. So, that's really what works for me. It means that I can always be enrolling people into the next round of the program. Now, that serves two benefits. Number one, it helps ease my cash flow, right? Because if I've always got people enrolling, then I don't have these peaks and troughs that can happen when it comes to launches. For my mind, there's always people starting then in different groups, so there's always community. I don't have to worry about the next launch working or anything like that. It's just an ongoing thing. Now, there is an argument for only launching every 6 months, and that's cool. You could totally do that. The ones that I have tested for me, I found that the community-based thing works better with this ongoing enrollment. The cash flow works better for me with ongoing enrollment, and that just takes a whole lot of pressure out of my head. So that might help. Even if you decide that you're going into an 8-week program, you still need to do the pre-launch and you still need to do the launch bit. Now, the launch bit is where your advertising comes in. It's where we do webinars. It's where you'll hop on the phone and talk to people, or you're putting out sales emails to those people in order to get them to enroll. All right, so that's all that. What else did I want to talk to you about? So the other thing, I mentioned webinars. So we've got one option, before I talk about webinars, we've got one option where you direct traffic directly to a sales page, and the conversions will be between 0.1% and 1%. If you put people into a webinar, which is not really that dissimilar to what we're doing, except that you might not see the presenter on camera, you can see the slides. I always run my webinars live because, and I have my camera on so that people can see that I'm live, because I think there is a whole bunch of bullshit crap where people are like, come and join my live webinar. It's starting in 3 minutes, or it's starting in 33 minutes. And this is the ads, or you select the time in one day, and they are pre-recorded webinars, guys. They're pre-recorded. They might say that they're live. They might pretend that they're talking to Carly and Cassie and Kelly and Jeremy and Charlie, and it's a bunch of bullshit. They're not live. Okay, and I can't stand it. They're kind of taking the piss. They are really manipulating people, in my opinion. There's no integrity there. You can't say that you're running a live webinar or a live call and then pretend to be live and expect that stuff happens. It just doesn't work like that. I hate it. Anyway, jumping off soapbox. So that was that. Where was I going with that? Oh, yes, that's right. So webinars. On your webinar, you can probably expect to get between 10 and 20% of people who register for your webinar will attend. Now, in an ideal scenario, if you've got your webinar content structured in the right way, so it's strategic, it's not just a slapdash, thing that you do. There's a particular structure that you need to follow for webinars if you are wanting to make a sale, right? Now, if you have it structured in a specific way, you would expect that a minimum of 10% of people who attend your webinar will put in an application to work with you. Now, we've got my client Jeremy, one of my clients, Jeremy, who's live at the moment. His attendance rate's about 16%, and of those 16% of people who attend his webinars, about 60% on average apply to work with him. Right? That's pretty freaking awesome, yeah? And then half of those people will enroll into his program. Okay, so if you're going in through that way versus trying to push people into a sales webinar, two things happen. Number one, your conversion rates are a hell of a lot higher. And what that means is that you need to spend or invest less money into traffic in order to convert, right? So if you're spending, in order to make one sale on a sales page, you've got to buy the traffic, right? So you've got to spend money on advertising, you've got to spend money on the eyeballs viewing the thing. So you've got to, my opinion is that if you need to make sales and if you need to make money, run a webinar, drive traffic. Oh, and those conversion rates that I mentioned for Jeremy are usually through from cold Facebook ads traffic. All right, cold traffic. So if anybody's out there thinking, oh, Facebook ads don't work, oh, webinars don't work, or wouldn't work for my business, it does and it would. Okay, so whether you're selling business to business or business to consumer, whether your program is $200 or $500 or $3,000 or $8,000, doesn't matter. Those conversions for webinars are much faster, much higher conversion rates. So it means that you put in less effort for a faster, bigger return. Whew. That's the launch process and the launch timeline. So if you have any questions, let me know. My phone's a little bit away. We were skating on the weekend and I was practicing some new tricks and I kept falling backwards and my shoulders are really sore. So apologies for that. I forgot about it. All right. Jeremy, Spy School gave me the belief that I could and then I did. Yes! Can't wait to have you there in October. It's awesome. Exciting. All right, Casey. Okay, so we've seen all of those ones. Awesome. Tamara, I hate that. Yeah, totally. I think that was around the pre-recorded webinars that are being sold as live webinars. Just opt in for this next half an hour session. Those guys aren't sitting there running webinars every hour. Let me give you the hot tip. So, any questions about any of this, please make sure you let me know. The other point that I wanted to make, if you guys have been trying to make sales into a book or a program or a workshop or an e-course or anything like that, if you haven't converted, it is okay. You've just got to know the numbers, all right? It's not your fault. We've had it pushed down our throats, particularly over the last few years, that online courses sell like hotcakes and just do this one thing and you'll be fine, or just go and spend $5,000 in Facebook ads and you'll make 50,000. You've got to do things strategically. You've got to make sure that you've got this process in place if you are wanting to make sales, all right? So next week on Becoming Professionally Famous Online, Season 3 of Unstoppable Entrepreneur Live, we're talking about the importance, and this kind of carries on from the stuff we've been talking about today. We're talking about sell your product or program or course first and then go and create it, right? And I know that so many people have brain farts or just go like, I didn't even know what you're talking about, Nicola, or freaking them out. So we're going to talk about this, how to make this work for you, because if you can't sell, like if you're thinking about a launch, if you can't make sales into that thing, do you really want to spend the next 2 months creating it, building it, to not have anybody buy it? Like that's really devastating, right? Because then that impacts your self-worth, it impacts your value, it makes you think that, oh, maybe nobody really wants this, and you know, this is really shit, and maybe I'll just go back and get a job, and oh, maybe I should do this course, and then the shiny thing syndrome kicks in, and it's really insidious. So I'm going to talk to you about how to sell it first, then create it, and why it's so critically important. Now, I've been doing this process, vomiting in my mouth the first time round, just quietly, since 2011, and then in 2012, and then in 2013, 2014, 2015, 2016, 2017, and now in 2018. Okay, so I'm going to chat with you next week about all of that. So we're live at 11 o'clock. If you are curious about Spy School and if you haven't registered your tickets yet, I know that some of you on here have messaged me about it, and I know that some of you are already enrolled, which is super fabulous and awesome. I've got some surprises up my sleeve for you over the next week and a half to 2 weeks, which is going to be fabulous. We're going live tomorrow morning at 9 for the coffee run. Tomorrow's Q&A Wednesday. So if you've got questions about marketing, online marketing, branding, blog, like anything to do with getting yourself out there, please let me know. There are no holds barred. I will answer anything for you because that's what I do. All right, guys, have a brilliant and awesome and amazing Tuesday, and I'll talk with you tomorrow. Bye.